Alright, how's it going, guys? Today, this one's going to be for everyone trying to get into trucking, whether you're just looking into it, starting out, started looking into options. Very first step anybody's going to take ever is how they get their CDL. And there's a bunch of different options. Well, three main ones, but you can kind of vary that depending on your situation. Each state's going to be a little differently depending on what your goals are, what your end goal. If you're trying to get any kind of specialized freight or stuff like that, it's kind of going to affect it. But for the main thing you're going to do is either one of three things. Before you do anything, you're going to want to see if you can pass your DOT medical exam, which is basically just a physical. Nothing crazy, as long as you don't have any conditions like heart problems, diabetes, stuff like that. It's gonna limit how long they'll give it to you for, but as long as you don't have any major conditions, no physical impairments, stuff like that, your vision's good, your hearing's good, that's easy. And then the next thing you're gonna want to get is your CLP, your commercial learner's permit. It's just a written test, varies state to state on how you go about it. For Texas, it's just you go down to the DPS office. I think it's 3 written tests, and that's it. It's like 50 questions total, maybe something like that. It takes 15-20 minutes. You can go online and Google and get the practice test, and it's just like a website. Just, hey, I need these 3 tests. It'll run you through them, and it's the exact same questions that are going to be on the test. So just practice that for a couple days. You can go in there and get that stuff, no problem. So that's the 2 things you want to make sure you can do before you start anything. Your DOT physical costs anywhere from $60 to $100, depending on what place you go, where you get it from, how much you feel like waiting. There's some chiropractic clinics that do it, anything from urgent cares that do it. There's stuff that's just specifically, if you type in DOT physical into Google, there might be some locations near you that just strictly do DOT physicals. So a bunch of options there depending on how much time you want to spend. But yeah, so altogether, you're probably looking at anywhere between $100 to $130 to have that knocked out and your learner's permit. And then from there is where you get into the 3 options. So get those 2 done first, once you know you want to go down this path, because you're going to need those regardless, and then start on one of these 3. So 3 ways you're going to get your CDL. One, I'll get this one out of the way quick because this is what most people aren't going to do, but if you have a family member, friend, somebody that already has their CDL and owns a truck, they could show you how to do it. You could ride with them, they could teach you everything you need to know, and then you could go test out at however they do it in your state, whether it's third party or whether it's all through the state. You go to one of their testing with the truck, they test you, you get your license that way. That's not going to be an option for most people. So really you just have the 2 options remaining. One is going to be to go through some type of program. Most of them are at community colleges, technical schools, stuff like that. There's some third party, like a loan place that do it as well, that you're not guaranteed a job afterward, but they partner with a couple of the mega carriers. So it's like, hey, go through our school, and then you got a couple options afterward if who you want to pick, who you want to work for. Those are going to be expensive. More expensive than the alternative. It's up to you. If you don't want to be locked down in a contract or something, you're going to have to make that call. But the community college ones are somewhere between $3,500 and $5,500, depending on how long the program is. They range from 3 weeks up to 7 or 8 weeks, depending on the class and how it's structured. And they're just going to be more expensive, but it's going to give you more options, or it's going to give you the illusion of more options, because as I'll get into a little later after I explain the first one, you need experience. So even if you get the CDL, you're still super limited on what you can actually do with it. And the third option is going to be going through a company that has a training program like Millis Transfer, like most of the other megas do it. Prime, Swift, CR England, PAM, there's a million of them. And they offer schooling with training, and they will also help you get your CDL. You'll go through their program, and then at the end, you either have your CDL or you go out with a trainer and they get you your CDL. That's how we do it at Millis Transfer for the most part, unless you're at a terminal that has a tester, you can get it. But The only difference with that is it's cheaper. Most of them are going to be somewhere between 2,000 to 3,000, even less. Some will pay for it if you stay for a certain amount of time, or some like pay you back. I think Swift has something like if you stay for the first year, you pay off your school, and then if you stay for another year after that, they pay it back to you. So if you're there for 2 years, it's free. If you're there for 1 year, they just take it out of your paycheck. Most places are going to be 1 year. They just take it out of your paycheck. That's how Millis does it. You pay a small fee up front, like $500, going to be about the average, and that'll take care of you. I personally feel like that's the best option. That's the option I came with. The only thing that you're going to have to deal with is you're going to get stuck in a contract for whatever company school you go through. You're going to go through them. They're going to give you all the training. School-wise, you're going to go through that school, and then you're going to go with a trainer for some period of time. That depends on what the policy is for that company you're looking at. I would say here we do like 5 to 8 weeks. It's like the average, depending on skill, how fast you pick stuff up, how many miles you're running, stuff like that. We do it by miles. Other companies may do it by hours drive time in the seat, how many miles a truck ran, stuff like that. It varies so much company to company. You're gonna have to kind of look into who you're going for, but you're gonna be locked in that contract for a year. So make sure whatever company you pick, you're not getting screwed. You're not getting sold short just to get your license. As you'll look at somebody else that I don't want to say companies' names because I don't know their exact pay scale, so I don't want to give an example that's out of date because I'm going off of what it was like for me 4 years ago. But I looked at some companies 4 years ago that was 36 cents a mile starting out, but they paid you to go through school. You got like $400 a week or something like that for like the however long the training was, or for the school. And then through training, they kept like a flat 400 or flat 500 or something a week to all the way through to you're done with training. And that sounds really appealing to you guys that are coming out with maybe no money or coming from a minimum wage job, trying to get into this, that don't really have the money to float you for that first month while you're in trucking school. Because you see most of the companies are 3 week long processes, 4 weeks before you're actually training. The school wise, orientation, out with a trainer, you're looking at a month, maybe a little bit, maybe 5 weeks without a paycheck. So don't get sucked into that. Try your best to save up so you can afford to suck it up for that 4 to 5 weeks and get yourself into a better company. You're going to do so much better getting a higher mileage, or maybe someone that's a little more picky with their drivers. But if you can get in there, that little $400 a week that they're giving you in the school, you're going to make that up in the first month, 2 months working. You're going to make far more than this guy. And then you still have the whole rest of the year to run, make money, do your thing. Whereas he's still got that crappy pay for the rest of his 12 months. Into the year, you're talking, you could be up to 20,000 difference between what the two made. So really think about that decision and what you're going to do. And not everyone has that choice. Look, if you're in a bad situation, this is your step to get up, and you're going to have to suck it up for that first year and make lower pay and get yourself in a better position. Hey, do what you got to do. I mean, everyone starts from somewhere. You can't always put yourself in the best position, but just know if you do go that route the first year, you're going to make a little less than average. You're looking at somewhere, all depends on where you go, just kind of ballpark it, you're going to be 40 to 60,000 your first year while you're getting to know things, while you're just getting started. Your pay is going to be a little lower. Most places are going to slowly scale up the pay while you prove yourself over that first year. So just be aware of that. But for what you're doing, I mean, you're talking, and I'll just use Millis as an example because I am here. You're talking 3 weeks trucking school, a couple days for orientation. Let's say it takes that whole week before you're out with a trainer. So you're talking 4 weeks total, no pay. You're out with a trainer, it's going to be another, let's just call it 8 weeks. So now you're 3 months into this, and you have your own truck on your own making, I think they start at 42 cents a mile, 43 cents a mile, scales up a penny, every quarter till you're maxed out. And that's going to put you in a way better situation. So just keep that in mind when you're looking how long their contract is. Most are going to be a year. You might find some that are 6 months, but don't be too worried about that at first. because you're going to need 6 months to a year experience before you even transfer anywhere. You're going to notice, oh, I'm stuck in this contract for a year, I can't go anywhere, blah, blah, blah. If you try and even call another company and talk to them up, like, hey, I just got my license, I'm ready to go, you don't have experience, they're not going to hire you. So make sure you know what you're doing. Pick as wisely as you can for the situation you can. If money's an issue, maybe you have to suck it up for a year, and that just is what it is. But just know, whatever company you pick, most likely that's you for the next 6 to 12 months at least, maybe even 2 years. You can transfer at a year, but if you're trying to go up to somewhere that's a little more strict, a little more pay, a little more specialized, maybe you start in flatbed and you want to get into heavy haul, something like that, they're going to require about 2 years experience. So just know that getting into it, and try and make the smartest decision you can for you or your family. You know what best you can do for them. I think next video I'm going to get into a little more of what to expect when you're going to trucking school, now with a trainer. I don't know when I'll be able to get that out. I'm picking up a new student tomorrow. I got home time in a week, so it might be a week, might not be able to record another one of these till I get home time. We'll see how busy the schedule is, how much time I spend with this student, how much work he's going to need, and we'll go from there. But appreciate you guys' time. Have a good one.